Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the new season of Data Party. Because it's the first episode, I thought we could start this one off with a banger. And so we'll talk about taxes. Come on, taxes can be fun. Have you not seen Shawshank Redemption? Anyway, the point is that as a small business owner, I must confess that I don't actually like preparing my taxes at all. There's way too many forms to fill. I find that the IRS makes it very difficult to go onto their website and understand what you're supposed to do. And then I remembered that we live in the age of AI. And so actually, tasks like that I don't enjoy doing, that are kind of boring, but are extremely important, I should build an agent for that. And so that's exactly what we're going to do in our video today. Now, to clarify, I built an agent that helps me prepare our taxes. In no way are we giving any tax advice. And most importantly, you still and most definitely should get a CPA. The intention of this agent is that it will help you prepare your taxes so that you don't have to go through all your bank statements and collect all information together. But first, how does the agent actually work? So the first step is collating all the bank statements. I bank with Bluevine, which is only accessible through the Plaid API. So that's what I need to use. Once I've got those bank statements, I'm going to be using AI, which is going to be categorizing all of that information into Google Sheets and sending a notification to my phone. Once that happens, I am going to be looking at the categorization and reviewing it until we get it right. And then last but not least, once we've got all of that, we pay the amount to the IRS and the receipts and everything are sent to a Google Drive. Okay, so actually the way that I built this tax agent is I always start in Claude Chat. And so, because I find that it's very good for brainstorming. So the first step is just to kind of work through with Claude on the example that I have and create a workflow that allows me to solve a problem that I'm going for. So in this case, making sure that I've got an aggregation of my taxes. So what I actually do in this chat is that I work with Claude to do the whole process end to end. And then at the end, once I've nailed the process down, once I've got all my emails sent out, at the end, I actually ask Claude Chat to put together a plan for Claude Code to take on. Specifically here, you can see this tax agent starter zip. So these are literally a bunch of MD files that Claude Chat created that I'll hand over to Claude Code. Okay, so now I'm in Claude Code. So that documentation that we created in chat, I have now uploaded it here. I'm still in planning mode and I get Claude Code to review this and start creating what we built in Claude Chat. Now, I'm not going to walk through all the discussions that we had here, but there's two things that I think are really important and that I build into the product. So here you can see the guards. Whenever it comes to something like money, especially, I always want to make sure that I build products that have guards, deterministic guards based in Python guards. What does that mean? That means things like I will I'll make sure that I never touch more files than the ones that I created. I make sure that I only have access to files related to the specific bank statements. And I make sure that I am not sending out any information that is related to financial records with too much details, because all of that could be scary. And I try and make as much of this deterministic because I do not want to rely on the LLM, which is non-deterministic, to control itself. I have that written in the prompt, but I always add in these deterministic guards as well in addition to that. The second thing that I want to talk about is just this Plaid integration. Sometimes what happens to me is that we agree on a plan with Claude, but as we're working towards it, he's like, oh, I can't do this, we can't do this, we can't do this. I would say that, and this is kind of, I think, really where goals come into play. So making kind of sure that you push on executing towards the plan that you want, that has been really helpful for me. So without further ado, let's see what we produced. Okay, so the final product and output is this tax agent here. Broadly speaking, you have the agent file here that includes all of the functions to actually run the agent. In here, you have a specific prompts folder that includes an MD file, which is just, I would say, a normal text file with instructions of how to run it. And what we have here is the Claude MD file. My understanding is that OpenAI has this agents MD framework where they basically describe what the agent is, and that Claude has one here. This one is pretty long for my liking. My understanding is that having one under 100 words is the way forward. In any case, the most interesting piece is actually this feedback MD, and that's the one I want to talk about a little bit more. And so the whole idea is that the learning loop consists of you correcting fields in Excel spreadsheet that is documented here with this double hashtag, that's the observation, and then it actually provides evidence of what a subscription looks like. And the idea is that this feedback MD is actually fed specifically back into the LLM as a judge that does the categorization, and the idea is that it's learning from this MD file. Okay, let's jump into the product demo of our tax agent. So I'm running it and you will see that it says demo. The reason it says demo is that, of course, we're talking about financial transaction data, and I will not be sharing real transaction data. So everything that you are seeing now is fictional data. We can see that what the agent has started to do is it's waking up that bank connection, and it connected with Plaid with the Sandbox data. It is pulling all the statements, so it's done that. And as again, it's saying fictional data set. And now what it's working on here is the step of sorting them out. This is really interesting. See, it's got two rules, two vendor rules. So these are the deterministic rules. It's saying once you know a provider that is associated with that expense, every single time you see that, you categorize it as a business expense. The idea is that this is cheaper than always using an LLM as a judge. And then there's also two notes in feedback, which is more focused on general philosophies, because if it wants to find a restaurant expense, we don't want to hard code the name of every single restaurant. Cool. As you can see, these are all made up companies. Look, Lumen AI, like that one a lot. And let's see what the Google Doc has given us. As I said, it's on my phone, but I also have it here open on my laptop. As you can see, I've got a message that says that the books are done. I'm going to open it. Very exciting news. So this is a summary. And the estimate of the taxes is here. Super, that's my estimate. And then here I have the actual transactions that I need to edit. Okay, I'm going to have these pulled up side by side so that you can see the agent in action. I think this one's quite fun. So we've got the overview here, as we talked about. We've got the final estimate here, and then we have the actual expenses to review. So what I can immediately see, for example, is that here, these two services are software expenses. So I'm going to list them as such. These are all correctly classified. Nice. And here, this is also a purchase of equipment. Okay, so I could go through all of them, but for the purposes of this demo, I've made my adjustments. I'm going to click done, and that's it. Once we go back to the sheet here, we're going to wait for the agent to pick it up and see what happens. So here, as you can see, it learned 3 transferable listens. And now what it's doing is it's putting those into our feedback MD. Great. Now it's saying, I made these changes and your sheet is updated. Please have a look. If I go to my phone notifications, I can see that now I've gotten this new notification that says that the fixes have in fact been applied, which is great news. Let's come back to this sheet. Sometimes I like to refresh it just to make sure it goes in. Okay, excellent news. And importantly, let's check it out here. You can see that this expense has now been classified, same as this one here and this one here. Interesting is that it hasn't applied it to all of those. Let's see if we can see any other examples of that. This one as well, interesting. So it classifies the first one there. Still some bug to sort out there. In any case, good job, we've done that. Then click done. The agent knows that it's done when the number of changes is equal to 0. So the evaluation and the goal of this agent is that over time, we wanted to have 0 human classification needed. And so in this scenario, over time, every single time I do these taxes, I'm hoping that there's fewer edits to make, which is exactly the point because the whole idea is to save time. Great. So it's gotten me this payment amount, which is exciting. And I'll go back to this here. If I come back to the estimate, you can see that this estimate is here. Got that whole reclassification done. Very exciting. And then last but not least, I got the third and final notification on my phone here. You can click on the link and it takes you directly to the page and you could just put that amount in. So that's it. The first episode of Data Party is now over and a tax agent is built. You may have noticed a couple of changes. Firstly, I'm wearing a cool new shirt. The reason I'm wearing a new shirt is that this video took a lot longer to edit than I had initially expected. Going to really show you that even something simple still takes a lot of iterations. And so for me personally, what I need to get better at is making sure that I have better evals upfront and that Claude really adheres to the plan so that the execution is quicker. Last but not least, almost forgot the most important one, I've included an open source link to GitHub of my tax agent that you can yourself take, set it up, put in your environment, your connections, and have it run and help it categorize your taxes as well. Until next week, see ya.